What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I would like to welcome you back to the podcast. This is, of course, Real Talk with Zuby. On today's episode, we have got on an artist, a socio-political commentator, and a well-known YouTuber. And this is, of course, An0maly. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thank you. When you said socio, I thought you were going to say like sociopath at first. You're like, I would have cracked up. Artist. So I would have been like, hey, man, come on. No, thanks for having me.
That's all blessed, bro. So that's a real quick intro there, man. Tell the people a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a hip hop artist. I've done that for a decade. And then I can call myself a news analyst, or same thing that you said, just try to analyze the news. I started when I always knew how dishonest it was, but the 2016 election, I took a closer look and I realized exactly how dishonest it was. And it was all in unison. So I decided to try to debunk a lot of media lies. And that's kind of mainly what I do. And now I just chat and try to add value in other ways as well.
That's awesome, man. So what was it that made you go, man, I need to put my voice out there. Somebody needs to say something about this all. Was there a particular moment or something that you saw maybe in the media that spread that on?
Through music since 2008, I always called out the media and the wars and the lies, but I never liked politics. I was like, two parties, they're all liars. I'm over it. Obama, Bush, I don't care. But the new election, I was like, maybe I thought Bernie Sanders, he kind of positioned himself as an outsider. I didn't understand economics or healthcare at the time. So I was like, maybe he can just bust the system wide open, kind of like Trump's doing. So I saw how they covered him and I just was blown away by it. And then I saw how they covered Trump and was blown away by that. So I just don't like dishonesty, even when it comes to a Bernie or a Trump. Whether you like them or dislike them, you got to report it accurately. And that's not what they do when they analyze the right wing. You don't have to be right wing, but if you lie about who everyone is, if you just group everyone together and lie about it, it's not effective. So I started kind of getting into that. And I also did a Delta Airlines video. There's a big story that they said this guy, they kicked him off because of his he was Muslim or whatever, but then I found out he was a prankster and he always does pranks and they didn't report that. So stuff like that, just big lies. And I was like, I got to do this.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll get into your work in a little bit, but I want to talk firstly a little bit more about you yourself. So whereabouts are you from? Tell us your life story.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, born and raised, and I like soccer, basketball. Always was an athlete growing up, and not a good kid in school. I never really followed suit, and creative, but didn't listen very well. Went to college at West Virginia University, dropped out after a couple of years. Was more interested in rapping. Ended up coming to Los
What were you
Angeles.
studying?
Journalism, actually, advertising journalism, and strangely enough, I feel like I learned more through the internet than I did there, but it could have been because I wasn't paying attention. So no offense to my professors. So then
Okay, sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
oh no, it's all good. I came out to Los Angeles. There was people who were interested in managing me, and they brought me out and let me live for free for a while. It was a little situation, so I came to LA and just been pursuing that. Worked in digital media for a while at some pretty big companies or on big clients and stuff, and did social media, and then just applied it to myself eventually. That's the short story version.
Okay, man. And how did you get into music?
I think I liked poetry growing up. Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends. I loved rhyming, so I always wrote rhyming poems as a kid. And then I remember I heard "Forgot About Dre" by Eminem, and the way he was rapping so fast, him and Dre, I was like, whoa, this is like poetry on steroids. So I started getting into that, and people early on, Jedi Mind Tricks, Atmosphere, I would say, and Eminem were people that made me want to rap. And then I just started freestyling at parties and stuff.
Okay, cool, man. And what have you got out there in terms of music and releases and videos and stuff like that? How much stuff have you put out there over the years?
Mixtapes, probably like 6, 5. I have maybe 1 or 2 EPs. I've have a bunch of freestyles over beats back in 2008 to 2011. I had a couple million views, just kind of a few went semi-viral, just rapping in my car and stuff. I did stuff like that. And now I have a song called I Like Trump. And I have a song with a rock group called Trapped. They did the song Headstrong. If you've ever heard that song, I did a new song with them called Come Together.
Okay.
Yeah, so a few
Awesome.
new songs out there.
That's dope. So you're a rapper who lives in LA who made a song called I Like Trump. So
Yeah.
this is going to need some explanation, man.
I just like Trump. I didn't even vote for him. I didn't even vote for him, to be honest. But as things came along, I just common sense and what he was doing. And my friend sent me a beat, and I probably was just watching too many Trump videos. So I made the song "I Like Trump." I recorded it, and it's been a couple million streams and views. It's been doing well, but not getting a lot of promotion from the right wing. Not getting any promotion from the left. The Daily Beast contacted me. They said they wanted to do an article, but I declined because the guy who wanted to write it just hates right wingers, like anybody's right of center. So I was like, nah, I'll pass. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I was bopping my head, and I was like, I guess this is where we're going with it.
Yeah, fair enough, man. So so many people I interview for different reasons. It seems like 2016 was a very monumental year, kind of like a turning point for a lot of people, regardless of where they live or what their political views are. It seems like so much stuff just happened and changed quickly in that year. You see a lot of people saying that's when they got red pilled, or that's when they saw the media was manipulative, or on the other side, that's when people say they saw that's when they realized that everybody, half their nation, is full of racists, apparently. Or I live in the UK. I live in the UK myself. I don't think that final analysis is too accurate. People try to say the same thing here with Brexit, that it was just all based on anti-immigration and xenophobia and racism and all that. But those are people who are very much in their little bubble and echo chamber. But it seems very prevalent. So, as an artist who's out there in obviously a very liberal area, and who is pro-Trump and even has a song called "I Like Trump." I mean, what's the response there like? I mean, obviously you've got your following online, but I mean, what's it like there in the world of music or with other artists, or do they get where you're coming from, or are you a little bit of an outcast in that regard?
I would say outcast, but I've always been an outcast. I had label meetings because I had some viral freestyles when I was 19 or 20. So I had big label meetings, independent meetings. They'd flown me out, and they always wanted me to do something I didn't want to do. They told
Mm.
me back then not to talk about politics because I was talking about George Bush. And, they were like, don't talk about politics, only talk about weed and women. And I was like, no, I always said no. I never had like a lust for fame or anything. I was like, that's not right. And I always
Mm.
knew, I'm like, that's not, I could be successful without that. So I've outcasted myself probably from industry execs like 8 years ago. And out here, like my friends who recorded the song and produced the song, they, my one friend is the tour DJ and producer for Lil Xan, the rapper Lil
Okay.
Xan. We're good friends. My friends want me to win. People that are my friends don't want me to win. And, anybody else I don't really care about because I've never really been in. So I'm not an actor. I don't work for like Disney or anything. So as far as I know, most people are cool with it. Some probably aren't, but I don't get that much backlash from industry people because I've always been an outsider, and it's good. I don't have to be like Mario Lopez and do a fake apology.
Oh, dude, that upset me. I was offended by the apology. I was
It's
like,
just
this the,
sad.
the statement wasn't offensive, but the apology, I'm like, man, no, no. It's so weird. I mean, because I saw it initially when some of the outrage was kind of blowing up. I don't know how extensive it was. It's really hard to tell the scale of things on Twitter, but I kind of saw that. And in my brain, I was like, don't apologize, don't apologize, don't apologize. And then I saw trending that he'd apologize. I was like, no, don't do it, man. Never give in. Don't give in. You didn't say anything wrong. I actually went back to the interview just to make sure that he said what I remembered him saying. And I listened to it again, and I was like, there was absolutely nothing wrong with that statement. In fact, if you think there was something wrong with that statement, then I'm kind of worried about you. Do you know what I mean? It's very strange.
I don't think he wants to lose his job and lose money. I get it. He probably isn't really sorry. But here's the thing. I'm sure he's a great guy. He seems like a really nice guy. But I took it, not that I am Mario Lopez, but I took the path of like I'm gonna be poor rather than lie and do that type
Mm.
of stuff. He already has the money, so I'm not saying he wants to lose his job, but it's not like he's gonna be out on the street. I did it when I had $500. The dude's got millions of dollars. You can't just stand up for what's right
Yeah.
now. It's a little bit weak. I know, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but it's like, come on, dude, if you're not going to do it now, and like, just be like, it's all love to the community, but
Mm.
maybe that age is not the best time. Like, I
I
don't
don't. I
understand.
don't even think you need to sugarcoat it that much, man. It's just wrong. No, really. I mean, I draw the line at stuff pretty hard especially when it comes to stuff involving children. You know, it's like if you're an adult, you're grown, and you want to live your life a certain way, even if it's very different from the norm, or you want to do something that makes you feel comfortable. I'm kind of like, you know, whatever. I don't agree with everything. I don't think objective reality can be changed, but if that's what someone wants to do, I'm like, okay, fair enough. But if you're talking about children and letting them consent to something like that, first of all, that's a bit of a dangerous slippery slope in my mind. If you're letting them consent to that, then you know you're opening up the door to a bunch of really dark and crazy stuff. But also just the effect. I mean, anyone who knows kids knows that they say crazy stuff or they believe in weird things. I mean, you know, my nephew thought he was a dinosaur for a while. And you know, like kids just say crazy stuff, or they'll watch something on TV, they'll watch a show with dogs and they'll say, "Oh, I want to be a dog," or you know, it's just innocent and it's funny. But if you start messing with their hormones or cutting bits and pieces off of them, and that's completely irreversible, then I'm like, no, like, hang on, that's not something that someone needs to apologize for saying that this is potentially dangerous. That's just that should be common sense, really, in a sane society. And yeah, I'm not afraid to say stuff like that, and I'm certainly not going to apologize for that either. So,
No,
so
I
yeah,
agree 100. It's just like if you're gonna not say it outright like that, at least just don't retract. You know, at least give
mm,
me the sugar with the truth. Because I know that's what they want to hear. But the full retraction now, it just kind of makes him on the side of wrong. So
yeah.
not the play.
So what is it within you that you think makes you so independently minded? That might be a hard question to answer. I feel like we're very much on the same wavelength from a lot of the stuff you've said. We even started making music around the same time. Um, and you know, we both do our thing independently, self-sustaining, you know, based off of the fans and the people. Um, is there something in you that's have you always been like that? Like initially were you, oh, I want to get signed to a major, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, or were you always just, okay, I just want to do my own thing and be authentic?
Since I was young, I was always a bad kid. I got in trouble in kindergarten. I remember I was an outcast. If I could psychoanalyze myself, it could. My parents divorced when I was 3 or 4, so that could have added to my rebellion of not wanting to listen to authority. And it ended up being a blessing, if that is why. Because even throughout school, I never did well, and I rebelled. But I realized that I was, not only a bad kid, but I was fighting against the indoctrination, and I realized that like that wasn't all that that doesn't mean it's right just because the teacher said it. So
Mm,
I kind of always had that spirit. And when I started rapping, I never wanted to get signed by a label. I was inspired by Atmosphere and Jedi Mind Tricks more. They were independent. And crazy enough, Baby Grand Records, who put out Jedi Mind Tricks, they
mhm.
flew me to New York City a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 now. And they were the ones, they're an independent label. They told me not to rap about politics, just rap about women and stuff. So I was like, if they're
Oh,
saying that, and they put out political music, they put
mm,
out. So I was like, wow, what are the majors saying then? So, but I never really cared about that. It was always like independent.
yeah.
Yeah, rebel.
So what was their reasoning for that, considering they do have politically minded artists on their roster? Why did they want you specifically to rap about weed and women?
I don't. I guess maybe they had taken a turn, or maybe the profits weren't as good, and the leadership wanted to do that. They paid round trip for the flight too, so I was like, they brought me out. They know what I did just to say
Mm,
that, and I kind of, I wanted to talk to them still, but I was not into it, and then they kind of didn't want to talk to me. Wasn't the best meeting, but yeah, I don't know why. I guess maybe they just wanted to turn a leaf. But if they're saying that,
mm,
what are the mainstream saying? It must be really bad. I know it's really bad. Like the networks, like if you do one thing out of line, they're like, stop, go away.
mm, mm. It's really weird. I find that bizarre because if you're listening to an artist and you fly somebody out because you like their music, you like their content and whatever, and you're seeing what they're already making, and that's the thing that got you interested. I've always found it really bizarre to try to completely change that artist or change their style of music, change their beats or whatever. If the thing that's what people are already liking, it just seems really, I mean, it seems like a dumb business decision to me, even because you've already proven what people like. So why not just take that and amplify it?
I agree. They're not all winners. Not every A&R is a winner. So I think they had an idea of what they wanted, and maybe like the traditional puppet. But I had my idea of what was works, and I always told them like I'm going to do this, and I was always very like burn bridges in a sense because I felt disrespected, and I did everything I said I was going to do, and I feel like they made a mistake, but that's that's their prerogative.
Yeah, man. What do you think about where hip hop is right now? What are your thoughts?
There's always some good people out there, but I was just talking to someone else. I listen to like Hall and Oates and Jackson 5 and Stevie
Mm,
Wonder. I don't even listen to rap anymore because it's very slow and like very dumb and very like a lot of pill promotion, a lot of like I'll murder somebody for $2,000, a lot of really bad message. Like when we
yeah.
grew up, it was like, hey, I'm tough, I'm a gangster, don't cross me. Now it's literally like I'm so drugged out, I'll probably kill somebody for like $50. And you're like, that's a terrible lyric. Like, I don't know.
And then you're getting people who are actually acting on these things, and
Oh,
it's crossing into the real world quite a lot, it seems.
absolutely. And I live in the city, and when I walk down the street and I see someone that just looks like bad news on the street, like you just know they're just not in the right zone. You just feel their energy and they're blasting music almost with 100% accuracy. I'm like, I bet there's a lyric about murdering somebody for money. Every time it's happened 7 times. Every time I'm gonna kill him for two. I got shooters that'll kill you for $1,000. And I'm like,
Wow.
every song is like this. And I know those people are all drugged up. It's like they're the ones doing it. Because I mean, I live in LA. There's a lot of homeless, a lot of crackheads, a lot of like, just like street people that are not doing anything good. And it is a trend. They're listening to that music almost every time.
That's weird. What do you think what do you think the source of that is? Do you think it's a supply and demand thing? Do you think it's people are really, really wanting that kind of music and those kind of messages, and so it's supplied? Do you think it's from the labels who are pushing it? Do you think it's more directly from the artist? I mean, what do you think is the main source of it? Because I'm okay with, I mean, there's all types of music. I listen to plenty of ignorant stuff or, aggressive music and whatnot. But sometimes it can get to a level where you're kind of like, man, who is you become a bit conspiratorial. It's like, man, this is so prevalent and this is being pushed so hard that what's the motive here? Is this really coming from the artist's heart? Or is this truly what the fans are demanding? And so, that's just what people want? Or is it the labels? Like you said, they wanted you to rap about women and weed rather than politics and real talk. So it seems like there are some puppet masters out there. I don't know.
I'll put it this way. I know I've seen you on Twitter. You said you're a Christian. If you want to push a Christian message in the movie industry right now, you're almost blacklisted and exiled. Like they don't want anything Christian or anything that's not them. They won't let you on MSNBC. They won't let you on CNN. They'll try to ruin your life. So if they're doing that, I think that's what they're kind of doing in music, where I do think that's happening. And I've listened to people who helped invent hip hop, like Grandmaster Caz. He said
Mm.
once NWA came out, all the labels then said, if you're a conscious rapper, you're not getting signed. So I think they've kind of manufactured that audience and they've manufactured that demand. So I do think there is a demand for that type of music now, but I don't think it came about naturally. I do think it was engineered. I don't know if it was for money. I don't know if it was for social control. I'm not going to say I know where it comes from. Maybe it was a mistake. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I know for sure.
Yeah, sure.
But I do absolutely know now everything. Like Twitter, we had a debate, and the big part of the debate was Tulsi Gabbard, called out Kamala Harris on a record. Everyone was talking about it. Twitter made Assad, which no one was talking about, the #1 trend and a featured story, where that's not natural. They're socially engineering everything. And I don't know if they're purposely doing it or they're just very close-minded.
Yeah. The Twitter trends are definitely made up because they'll just throw something up there that I'm like, there's no way on earth that thing started trending by any organic means. They just throw some random weird thing up there, and there'll be some other big story like you just said, and that's nowhere to be seen. And then it's
Mm.
like, oh, this thing, and then they just chuck it's yeah, it's weird. There's so much manipulation going on. It's weird because we're obviously aware of it, and I assume myself and yourself are far more aware of it than the average person on the street. But I just sometimes wonder, man, how deep does it go? Like how it can almost drive someone a little bit crazy.
It goes deep, and every layer you peel back. I know this. I've always known the media was corrupt, and I knew it was a lie since I was younger. I was pretty ahead of that. But now, what I know now compared to what I knew then, every layer you peel back, you can't go back. It's what they call the red pill. But then there's like a redder pill, like because once you see a deeper truth, you're not all the way there. I don't know if we could ever get all the way there, but you're like, whoa, that changes my whole perception of who's really behind this. So it's interesting.
Yeah, man. What was the last sort of thing that blew your mind in terms of that subject?
The media was.
Yeah,
I
just
would.
something where you were like, "Whoa, that was really manipulated."
Uh, just researching, I would say the moon narrative, and I'm not one to say if we did or didn't go. I'm not a scientist. I can't prove that. But I saw NASA's oldest engineer say, we used to have the technology, but we destroyed it, and it's a painful process to build back again. And I thought that was very bizarre. So I started doing research into the interviews, what they had, what they didn't have, and they rig YouTube's algorithm now. If you don't say what they want you to say, they say it's a conspiracy theory. And
Mm.
some people just make stuff up. That's obvious. But the more I get into it, a lot of stuff they're saying doesn't add up at all, and it's pretty hilarious, and it's so unpopular to talk about. I'm not one that like most theorists just think they know everything and they turn people off because they're like it's made of this, and then people are like what? But I just know from that was like whoa, I've never been into that. But once I saw that and I kept researching, I was like, these guys go back and forth. It's like they've changed their narrative like 18 times. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's interesting. That the moon landing isn't some. I hear people who are skeptical, and then I of course hear the more popular side of course it happened, of course it happened, and I haven't done much research into it myself. The thing with a lot of, I guess, what people could call conspiracy theories, though, is with me, the ones that make the most sense to me, or the ones that I think are likely to be true, are the ones where there's a clear motive,
Mm.
right? So something like the Earth is flat, I'm like, no, because, well, one, you've obviously got got enough photos and evidence, and the fact that you can see all the other planets and stars, and they all happen to be round. So it would be weird if Earth was just flat and you can fly around. You can fly around there's plenty of reasons. It's pretty clear that the Earth is spherical, but also it's the fact that it's like, well, what would be the motive of that, right? If I'm going to go with what some flat Earth person is saying and agree that all the countries are collaborating to lie to everybody and everything is a lie and everything is a lie, I'm like, well, what would be the point of that? Like, there's
I,
no.
I have two motives I thought of. I'm not saying it's true, but for
Okay.
NASA, they get billions of dollars a year. So if you never did something, you said even now they haven't gone back in 50 years. They say they
Hmm.
don't have the technology, even though technology is advancing
Oh no,
rapidly.
sorry, man. I understand the motive of faking the moon landing.
Yeah, but even
I
say
un-
all right, so
yeah,
the Earth,
yeah,
the
yeah.
flat
The
Earth.
Earth one, I don't get the motive
I'm
for.
I'm not saying it's flat, but the say you have everyone looking up at space. So, you got half that and 95% of the ocean is unexplored. Most of
Mhm.
Earth is an ocean. Most of ocean is unexplored. So Earth is very unknown. Everybody's looking up, no one's looking down. I just thought of that recently where I'm like, no one cares about the ocean, but it's very unknown and it's hard to get to. It's dark. I understand why people don't care about it. But isn't it interesting that most of Earth is like you can't go there, you can't see it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what if we're being run by super dolphins? What if there's a huge dolphin down there? He's got the button for everything. We're talking about Trump and Obama, and he's just cracking up a 300-foot dolphin. No.
Dolphin Trump, we need to worry about, man. Not Donald, dude. So why do you like Trump?
Multiple reasons. I would say most politicians just talk a big game and they're very, very sneaky. He's the opposite. He does talk a lot, but he actually proves with actions and he's not as smooth and he says things that you would probably say like there's the Kanye lyric, I'm on TV talking like it's just you and me. Like I'm talking to everyone like it's just us. That's kind of his whole vibe, but I like what he did in Syria. He underfunded like a CIA program, which was funding rebels. In Libya, it resulted in slavery, literally. I mean, they overthrew the leader and caused destabilization. It destabilized Syria. I'm not saying Assad's a great guy, but I don't think we need to destabilize the region. It led to the refugee crisis and kind of caused chaos for US and Europe as well. So that type of stuff, he's ambitious. I mean, jobs low, going at the Federal Reserve, calling out the media, calling out the military. He's a dream for someone like me who I was never even right leaning, but I always knew it was a deeper story. He's not the be all end all, but he definitely gets deeper than any president I've ever seen. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. And did you appreciate that from the beginning, or has it more like you've warmed to him as he's been president?
I would say when he first came out, I bought into the narrative that he's a bad guy, racist, KKK, whatever. And then as the debates came on, like when Bernie lost and he started talking to Hillary, I really liked him way more than Hillary. And it was kind of like a silent thing where you're like, whoa, this guy's the real deal. And when he won, I was a little scared for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, you know what? It's either going to be really good or really bad. And then after 2 weeks, I started following the media and I was like, this guy might be the real deal. By the time he was speaking, I didn't come out publicly for months after that, I don't think, but I was like listening to him. I was like, whoa, listening to him is a lot different than listening to them talk about him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. He's simultaneously very honest and dishonest. That's the thing. It's like, because people are always, oh, Donald Trump lies, Donald Trump lies. And I'm like, all politicians lie, firstly. And the way he lies is, in a weird way, it's like, I don't mind his lies as much because they're so blatant, right? Like other politicians will lie about something that's kind of really important and it's like a politician's lie, right? It's very manipulative and sneaky and they're kind of hiding the ball here and saying this and not saying that. And so when he lies, it's kind of like, to me, it's mostly sort of inconsequential lies. Like he lies about dumb stuff. He'll be like, this was the best thing ever. Or this was the greatest. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
there'll be something that 20,000 people attended and he'll say that there were 60,000 people, right? He kind of lies about stuff like that, but he's also very frank and very honest, as in you just said, like he talks like it's just as if he's just talking to his buddies. And not everybody likes that. A lot of people say it's not presidential. I know he himself knows that it's not presidential because he jokes about that. But in a way, it's refreshing because people get tired of the politician talk. People get tired of the pandering. People get tired of the constant political correctness. Even when it comes to him attacking or insulting people, right? You'll get people like, oh, he was mean to this woman, or he was mean to a person of color, or a person of color who is a woman, or he was mean to, and I'm like, dude, he's an equal opportunities disser. He'll diss a white man. He'll diss a black woman. He'll diss a Mexican. Yeah, he doesn't care. Right. To me, I'm almost like, well, that's equal opportunities. He's not.
No, I almost respect it because you almost have to dance around. Like if you're dissing Don Lemon, it's a lot easier to diss Bush in this modern era. So for him to say he's the dumbest man on the planet, like you're like, whoa, I wouldn't say that. However, you could tell he doesn't discriminate. Like whereas someone might discriminate and hold back because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings. He'll go out there and just say it, and you're like, whoa! But in a way, like you said, it's equal opportunity.
That's the thing to me. I'm like, people, oh, he's racist because he dissed a black man. I'm like, well, if the black man said something stupid, why should he get any? If I say something completely ridiculous, and then someone's like, oh, Zuby said something ridiculous, I can't then just be like, oh, they're attacking me because I'm black. It's like, no, if you want equality, you kind of got to have it. You really need to have it across the board. That means people being treating you like you treat anybody else. And he's dissed enough people of all colors and orientations and sexes and whatever that I'm like, okay, this isn't something that's limited to. If he was just permanently, constantly targeting, people from one group, like he was only attacking women and always then I'd be like, that's a bit suspect, right? But it's like, dude, he gives it to everybody. And the fact that everybody else a lot of it is defensive too, right? It's like people say all this crazy stuff about him, and I think most presidents kind of take it on the chin, and they won't publicly say anything, right? Someone on the media will come out and say something crazy about the president, and they're kind of expected to just be a punching bag and sit there and take it and accept the criticism. Whereas he'll just jump on Twitter and be like, well, I heard what so-and-so said, and he'll at them and he'll be like, yeah, well, so-and-so's an idiot.
Yeah, and or like she's disgusting. I saw her face bleeding, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? But it's so funny. And on a serious note, your wisdom and honesty with this type of stuff, it actually makes people less racist. And when you're obnoxious and hide behind victim cards, whether you're any race, any gender, whatever, it makes people dislike you personally more. And then sometimes some people are not as maybe wise or strong. So then they start to group more and more people in. So I'm inspired by people like Daryl Davis. He's a jazz musician.
Oh, yeah.
Did a documentary, got like 100 KKK members to quit because he was so cool and so wise and so chill. They eventually realized, I like you better than these white guys, so I'm not as racist as I thought I was. That's kind of the name of the game. Like if white people or Spanish people do annoying stuff and won't take accountability for anything, it starts to tick people off. And then it's like, that's kind of the people who act like they're fighting racism the most, they're sending us back the most. And the people that they hate them, like you call it like you see it, and they're like, how dare you step out of line? You're like, no, that's what people want to see. If everyone acted like that from all backgrounds, there'd be a lot less hate and confusion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's interesting that you mentioned Daryl Davis because I was in London yesterday and I was telling somebody actually about him because we somehow got onto the topic of racism and people. I think we were talking about people using terms incorrectly, so throwing around racism too much, or throwing around the term white supremacist too much, or throwing around these words very very flippantly, and some of the dangers of that. And then somehow I ended up, yeah, talking about Daryl Davis. And oh, I remember I was saying something about a lot of stuff is just about exposure. So a lot of genuine racism or genuine bigotry is often due to people not having encountered people of that sort. So if you live, I don't know, out in the sticks in the US or in the UK or whatever, and you've never met a Muslim person and you only ever see what's in the news and what the media tells you, and maybe what some of your friends who also don't know much have told you, then you kind of form this opinion. But if you're around a lot of people and you've met a bunch of different people and whatnot, whether they're men, women, gay, straight, black, brown, whatever, um, you can't you can't hate somebody that you like. Do you see what I mean? So that's what
Absolutely.
Daryl Davis is doing. So you've got these people who think that they hate all black people. They think that they think that they'll hate this guy. And he goes and instead of screaming at them and telling them how wrong they are and whatever, which is difficult if you're dealing with genuine bigots. And he kind of leads with love and ends up befriending them and inviting them to his gigs and whatever. And then they're like, I like this guy. And then if that happens, then that already disproves your theory that all black people are terrible. And, slowly that it shatters and that comes down. And that's really the best way to, I guess, deal with that kind of hatred. It's hard because if someone is hating on you or being deeply prejudiced, then it's difficult to not react in kind and sort of hate them back. But I think hating people back is kind of happening far too much right now in society and culture, and that's why things are getting fractured. Instead of trying to find, common humanity and common ground, it's just, oh, this person is different for this reason, a different belief, different political party or whatever, and it just becomes this silly war.
Yeah, it's all mixed up. And another example too is like, say I grew up, I've never had prejudice against Muslims because my best friend was Muslim. His mom was like a very devout one and ran a daycare, beautiful, not racist, not hateful, amazing, one of the nicest people to me. So I've
Mhm.
never lived somewhere where I didn't know but a lot of people feel that way. But what the media does is, a lot of my friends that are Pakistani or this, they came in legally and then they start a war. They lie about the war, create a refugee crisis, then start bringing hundreds of thousands of people, not just from that area. They're so sloppy with it. They start bringing in people that aren't even from there who are lying about who they are or where they're from. And then those people end up not being the best people because that's not how any system works. You don't just do that. You have a process. And then those people do bad things, some of them, and then you can't report on it like in England or here, or else you're a bad person. So that type of stuff makes people more hateful. It doesn't make it right, but they start see that and then they blame everyone. So it's combining, Daryl Davis's method with just being honest about, like, if someone says something about bad white people or bad Hispanic people or bad Christians or whatever, or Catholics, I'm not going to just be like, don't say that. That's Cathophobia. It's like,
Mhm.
address that problem, understand you're not part of it, and that eases the tension. But nobody wants to solve any issues on the left or the right. It's all a team sport. A lot of people are like playing like it's like their race versus the world, or their religion versus the world, or their country versus the world. There's no balance. So you have the left wing screwing it all up, and a decent, not all, but some, the right that just, shuts off and just says, no, I'm done with all of it. So it's
Mhm.
it's a like multi-layered issue that the media is definitely making much worse.
So how do we fix this, man?
Like I would say love, not Marianne Williamson's
We need
there's
some
dark and psychic forces. No, I get what she's saying,
I need some spiritual healing crystals, man.
but she's pretty funny. But yeah,
Another one.
yeah, love, but not foolishness and naivety. And I think that's what those type of people don't get. I'm that big of a hippie. I'd love to drink kombucha with Marianne Williamson, but I'm not foolish and I'm not naive when it comes to running a country, foreign policy, and how cold the world can be in certain regions. So, love with wisdom, with strength, but also understand it's okay, like for people to want to live different lives. Like I think in America, what was beautiful about it at one point was conservatives and liberals, they could do different things. We could experiment in certain states as far as now the federal government has so much power here that like Texas isn't like Los Angeles. They both have pros and cons. If you don't want to live there, you can move, but everyone wants to like hyper be like, you have to be like me. You have to live this way. You have to, culture wise, it's like, it's okay. I think it's great that you could travel the world and live in, different cultures and experience different stuff. But the forcing everything onto everybody, I think, is having a negative impact. So if we, I think, listen to, like, without calling Trump racist, listen to what he's saying. You don't have to agree with it, but get at the core. Like, this is right, this is right, this is wrong, not just throw it all out. Everyone's kind of blanketing. And the same with the left. As much as I disagree with how they try to operate, I understand where they're coming from. And I do understand why they feel that way, because there are a lot of feelings that they have that the right wing doesn't address, and they just come off very cold. So communication, love, understanding, but not weak and foolishness where it's just like, let's just open the door. Like, it's like certain places you just don't want to do that,
Mhm.
I get it, but yeah, combo that.
Yeah, you need both sides having an honest discussion, and because the thing is, I mean, there's more than two sides of a political spectrum, but if people want to split it by left and right, I'll use that terminology to make it simple. And the thing is, I mean, it should be obvious, but the most important thing is that each side, when functioning properly, can point out the blind spots of the other side, right? So I find that people who tend to lean right sort of tend to, I mean, I lean right technically myself. I'm kind of center right libertarian, but it can be easy to get so into the absolute personal responsibility thing that you kind of forget about some of the situations people can be in, or certain conditions that are stopping them from flourishing or achieving and whatnot, right? Whereas people who are more on the left, sometimes they overlook the personal responsibility thing, and they think that everything is structural, right? Everything is the problem of the system. So we need to fix the
Mm,
system, fix the system. Whereas people on the right are like, no, fix yourself, fix yourself. And they're like, fix the system, fix the system. And
mhm.
both of those things can be true at once, right? It's not necessary. Sometimes the system is broken. Sometimes there is something that's just like, okay, that particular issue, that's not right, right? That's not moral, or that's not correct, or that's unfairly affecting this group of people, or whatever. And it's important to have that conversation and come in. But then if you've got people pushing on an extreme on either side, if the people over there are saying, "Oh no, we want an all-white ethno state, and we don't want," then it's like, "Oh no, no, no!" Like let's bring that back over there. And then if you've got these people like, "Oh, we just want open borders, just bring in everybody from every part of the country, just do away with," and you need the people on the other side to be like, "Oh no, no, no! Like let's bring this back to the center a little bit," because if you get extreme or radicalized on either side, then the ideas just become very crappy for a whole bunch of reasons, and that's when bad things can happen to people too.
You nailed it. I always leaned left because I wanted to change and fix the system, and I knew it was corrupt and I knew it was bad. But in my later life, even before I was right wing or right leaning, I came to be grateful. I was appreciative. I used to just blame and hate, and I changed myself when I didn't have anything, and it changed my life. And I understand how important personal responsibility is, no matter who the president is. How, like, changing yourself to change the world, like many greats have said, is truly the right pattern. And the system is we vote for it, we put up with it. Even if we don't elect those people, we sit and let it happen as a collective. If everybody was on the same page to fight it, it would go away, the corruption. So I realized that, and that's what's kind of distanced me from the left wing. Is I agree with you that the right doesn't understand certain things, and the system, it's perfect, it's capitalism, it's great. It's not true. But the left, there's almost no value for me, because it's like they want to fight the system, but then they want to make the system bigger. The government's corrupt, but let's give them the money, power, and taxes and think it's going to work out, when there would be a maybe way that would work out if you were very wise, very strong, and made sure you took care of everything and then implemented it. They don't do any of that. They just scream and yell at you. So it's like, it's very, very dangerous that they don't have any personal responsibility. All their policies ignore that completely. So obviously they're never going to work. And then if you try to implement that kindly and be like, hey, I agree with you, but this, they freak out at you. It's like, get out of here. And you're like, you're right. You say a basic left-wing thing. Last night they were like, Republican talking point, Republican talking point.
Oh,
what do you think that happened if you tried to join my team and I said, no, you're on that team, you're on that team? Eventually you'd be like, yeah, I'm on that team.
Yeah,
why did we lose the election? Well, you told everyone they were right-wing when they were left-wing. So now they just
beyond that, they told everyone they were Nazis, not just.
Yeah. Well, luckily, most people don't want to be associated with that but you know, but that's not a good, you get told that enough, you're going to go at least to a group that doesn't treat you like that. And their perception of what Trump supporters are, there's some ignorant Trump supporters, obviously, but 99% of people I talk to, I meet in person, all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of ideas, all sorts of stories that you won't hear. You know, the Pakistani doctor who paid a lot of money, who came here and is very proud immigrant and understands the health industry because he works in it. I'm not saying that's the be all end all, but let him have a conversation. They purposely frame it so it's like ignorant versus we're the greatest people. And it's really screwing with people's minds who believes that. Very intelligent people who went to school are indoctrinated so much. They're like, people can't fathom my wisdom.
It's very arrogant. It's very, very arrogant. You see the same thing that happened. I mean, it's still happening here in the UK with Brexit, right? They've got this narrative that everyone who voted leave, everybody who supports Brexit, they're just like old, or they're just ignorant, or they just don't like brown people, or they're this or they're that, right? And it's the same as the way people kind of sneer at Trump supporters. You see what I mean? Like they're kind of like looking down their noses, like, who are these filthy, unwashed? You know what I mean? And it's just so arrogant and smug and off-putting. I'm like, why do you think that people don't like you? Why do you think people aren't voting for you? It's because you keep calling them hillbillies, you keep calling them rednecks, you keep calling them racists and evil people, and so that's not going to endear them to you, right? Last time around, it's like I tweeted this a couple of weeks ago. It's like in 2016, their strategy was to call 50% of the American population racist, and that didn't work. So their new strategy is to call 80% of the population racist and see how that works. I mean, they're starting to do it to each other, aren't they? Like the Democrats are starting to call each other racist now.
I shared that post on Facebook, actually. It got a couple of thousand shares.
Oh, for real? Oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
I screenshot it. I think on Instagram too. I put that on there because it was so spot on. You're good at that. Just, you know, the succinct like truth in a very presentable way. It's true with the Brexit as well. Even me, because I share their like hippie mentality. I'm not a total, but I am compassionate. I am kind. But if I was them and I lost the election to Brexit or Trump, what I would do is reach out to the people and be like, why do you feel that way? I wouldn't hate them, even if they were being mean. Like, why do you feel that way? I want to hear your story. They don't do that. They act like they're kind and compassionate like I am, but then they're so nasty and bitter and negative and hateful. Even if you thought they were as bad as you think they are, which they're not, I still take the Daryl Davis approach of like, let me hear your story. You hate people who look just like me. Let me hear why. Well, I'm mad at the central banks and the wars. Oh, me too. You know, I don't like those white people either. I don't like those people of similar skin tone than me too. They're like, oh man, like, you know, shake head. Like, you're not going to offend me even with a lot of hate or, you know, racism towards my kind if, you know, I would want to get through to that. And then people would be like, you know what, I like that guy. Or like, he's not a phony. He's not just saying. That's how you stop it. But they're very hypocritical, and it's backfiring. Like you said, 80%, 90%. Let's see how bad they lose.
Yeah. I mean, one of the weirdest things though is, I mean, the thing that should make it obvious that it's not that simple is like, okay, why don't you, if you really don't understand the Trump thing and you think it's all based on racism and it's all based on race, why don't you go and talk to one of the hundreds of thousands of Black Trump supporters, right? Why don't you talk to a Latino Trump supporter? Why don't you talk to a Black female? Like if you think that Trump is this horrible misogynist, it's like, why don't you talk to someone who violates the thing that's in your brain, You see what I mean, right? If your narrative in your brain is okay, only ignorant white men voted for Trump, right? If that's the narrative in your brain, which is provably false, it's like, why don't you talk to someone who's the complete opposite? Why don't you talk to a young black woman who supports Trump and get her perspective? Because you're obviously wrong because she exists. So why not speak to her? That's the thing. That's the thing that confuses me. Instead, they'd rather go, oh, she's a black white supremacist. And you're just like, really? Like, come on, think of how dumb you sound. You know
They
what I
really
mean?
do
Like,
that.
does that even make any sense? No, it doesn't. So I don't know. It's like people don't really want to learn. That's the thing I found weirdest. Of course, I'm in the UK. I'm looking from afar. But the thing I find weirdest, especially as you're seeing these the Democratic hopefuls and stuff coming up right now, I'm just looking at it like they have not learned anything in the past 3 years. And that blows my mind because it's just like you're just doing the same thing. I'm like, do you guys need some strategy? Like, I can, if you pay me a lot of money, I can come over there and tell you everything you're doing wrong. But it just, I don't know. It's very confusing. It's very weird.
I say that all the time in my streams because I'm a lot calmer and more reasonable than a lot of people who, support the president. I'm like, I'm not going to call you a libtard and a snowflake. Like, that's not my style. I'm trying to help you. Like, you've learned nothing, even if you don't like Trump. Listen to me for 10 minutes and understand how bad what you're doing is. It's crazy. Like, even the best of the best out of the Democrats, they're still attacking viciously the guy who more than half the country likes. How hard is it to say, you know what? I don't agree with him here. I don't like his rhetoric. I don't like his tweets, but it's nice he did prison reform. It's good that unemployment's low. That's important. I like this. Like, it's not that hard to compliment somebody and then try to win over their audience. They hate more than I've ever seen in my lifetime. They hate conservatives. They hate Trump supporters.
Mm.
And they don't want to talk to people who break the narrative because then it's like a NPC malfunction. But I think they know deep down, because at a certain point, some of these people are not dumb. And to do this for 3 or 4 years, like you said, to learn nothing, it's kind of gross. And it's what used to turn me off from the right. I used to think they were ignorant and stubborn and not want to learn. And it's like a new level. But the weirder part is, they say that these people are uneducated in this. These are fully educated, fully funded, like luxury coffee drinking people that are being more ignorant and rude than anything I've ever seen from anybody. It's next level.
Do you think Trump maybe like paid off the Democrat candidates to just be crazy?
Someone had a theory. I went on a hike with I went on a hike with my buddy, and he said, because I was talking about this stuff, and he's like, dude, do you think that these are like right-wing people purposely winning the election? I said no for a while, but I came back and I was like, dude, at this point, it almost makes more sense. Like, because they're so bad and so fake and so off-putting. It almost makes more sense that they're right-wingers purposely like throwing it.
Yeah, when they started speaking Spanish in that debate, I was like, okay, no, Trump has pulled something here. These guys are working for him. Or when they were saying that men need abortion access, I was like, okay, Trump. I was just, I don't know. I haven't even watched the debates. I just saw like certain clips and certain highlights. And
Don't watch it. It'll make you dumber on contact. Like it literally just like it. I feel it's intellectually offensive, honestly.
Oh gosh. So what's next for you, man? What are your current goals, or have you got any exciting projects that you're working on?
I'm trying to do a live event in September, early September in Los Angeles. Make America Debate Again.
I'll be there.
Oh, okay. I think September 4th, maybe 5th. We're working on. You there that day?
I'm doing Joe Rogan on the 5th, and I'm doing Rubin Report on the 4th.
Oh, well, you'll be there. Perfect.
So maybe
you'll be a special guest. We'll see if it lines up timing wise. But I'm trying to sell out a place and get a discussion, not overly political, more like a TED Talk meets like a town hall. And I'm really pumped about that because the live event would be awesome. And then if they demonetize my YouTube and Facebook page, I don't have to worry about it as much. And hopefully take it around the country if it goes well. So that's what I'm working on now. And then just keep videos and tweeting a few tweets like you.
Yeah. So what's that? MATA, Make America Debate Again.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some merch.
I think so. We got some hats brewing, definitely some shirts. It's short period of time we're trying to pull it off in, but time flies. So if you wait too long, years, I'm trying to get it done now, but we're working on it.
Okay. And I know we probably shouldn't do predictions, but what are your predictions for 2020, man?
I think Trump wins in a landslide, but if he doesn't win, I will say the rigging of YouTube, Facebook, and Google, they're in overdrive and they have a lot of power. So don't underestimate that. And I would say Tulsi, I disagree with her on a few things. I praise her for a lot. She's probably the worst matchup for him. But if any of these other clowns win, I think it's going to be a landslide unless Google really uses their power to cheat.
Yep. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. Awesome, man. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you want to talk about? I feel like we've come to a pretty good position pretty much right on time. But is there anything that you kind of want to put out there to the people that you haven't mentioned?
Just have a good day. That's it. I appreciate the discussion. It was good. I know you have a good one. I could tell your tweets are on point, and maybe musically we'll come together at some point. But yeah, just have a good day. You can follow me on Instagram at DreamRare, DreamRare. You could catch me out here on the interwebs, on these interweb streets. You might see my video fly by. That's it.
That's cool, man. And how can people follow you on social media?
To search for my name, it's An0maly, and it's spelled AN0MALY. The O's the zero, so AN0MALY on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Search that anywhere, and you should find me.
Awesome. An0maly, thanks you so much for coming on the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you, my brother.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Nice one, man. Take care.